Hi, everyone, beautiful souls. Welcome to Awakening with Rayania. Today, we have a pleasure of having Tracey Stevens with us. Tracey, I know Tracey for a few years now. She's a beautiful healer and has been was practicing acupuncture for almost 3 decades, more than 2 decades.
Just about
And
20 years, yeah.
right, and many more. So, Tracey, welcome. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. It's lovely to be here.
Yeah, I invited you because I know you have so much gift and so much beautiful insight and wisdom to share with people on the emotions, on the healing, about acupuncture, about energy, about physical illness and all that. So would you just like to introduce to us, like, who are you and what do you do at this moment?
Well, give me an easier question. So yeah, I'm Tracey, and I started off my career in Western medicine, actually, as an occupational therapist, and found my way into Chinese medicine and acupuncture, and then I did my training, changed my career completely, and became an acupuncturist. And that whole process of, I don't know, shifting from this Western sort of paradigm to the Eastern paradigm was really big for me. It was a really major turning point because I started to understand and see the body in a completely different way. And so working as an acupuncturist, obviously working with the energy, and but I was still left with questions. I was still left with questions about health and why people get ill, really. So the last 10 years really has just seen me searching. And in that searching process, I have done past life regression therapy and various energetic modalities like Reiki and energy healing. And here I am now, and I've transitioned from doing one-on-one acupuncture sessions into the online arena, where I now teach and run courses for people who are looking to connect that physical world to the emotional, energetic, and spiritual world. So it's hard to describe in a nutshell now what I do, but it's about helping other practitioners or helping people on their own journey understand how physical illness and disease arises in their life and why that happens, how it happened, and what to do about it, basically.
Yeah, that is becoming more and more important because we know that many people, even though they have healthy lifestyle, they they suffer, from chronic illness, and people are beginning to becoming aware and curious that, how come, like, just popping in the tablet no longer support their health, and it's not curing the root cause either. And that's why I think the work you are doing is very fascinating, because you are bridging the physical aspects with the energetic, the meridians and energy point, together with the emotional. So would you like to tell more about that? Like, what move you the most when you dive into this connection?
Yeah, so okay. It's, for me, it was about understanding. I just felt like I was just seeking and digging, and I was always questioning, well, why is this illness come up? Okay, yes, we diagnose it, but why is it there in the first place? Something must have happened to enable somebody to manifest this physical issue. And so that journey really has just led me, you know, down this massive rabbit hole of of understanding, well, it's just understanding in our physical life in a much deeper way, really. And ultimately, this is all about not just bringing all these elements together and into a wholeness, because at the end of the day, we're not mechanical creatures, and medicine has used a lot of mechanical ways of looking at the body, but but everybody knows it doesn't fit completely. You know, everybody knows that, yes, there are pills that we can take that help this issue, but why is it still coming up, and why does it still keep happening, and why do I have to keep taking the pills? And you know, what is healing all about, and how do people heal? And so these were the sort of questions that really sort of led me into this sort of deep, which is why I call it the root cause, because it is just going down, 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 down into the essence of who we are in our physical experience, really. So it's quite it's quite deep, and I try to make it as as digestible and understandable as possible in the work and the teaching that I do. But to me, it's not just about health. It's about every single aspect of our lives, and understanding ourselves more, and understanding our whole life here more, I suppose.
Yeah. So I wonder, like, if there's any personal experience that has, you know, sort of nudged you in this direction to open yourself up to like different aspect of health and different aspect of healing.
Well, it's an interesting one, that, actually, because I wouldn't say there was like one major thing that happened, but now as I look back at my whole life, I've always there's been a lot of physical stuff that has come up for me in my life, and there was probably a breaking point at one point where I just and I would say that was around the time that I had fibroids and I needed a hysterectomy, and life had got into a pretty bad place for me, and everything I was doing just didn't seem to be working. And even though I'd been sort of touching on the edge of going deeper into what this all meant, I think it was that probably that really sent me right in there, and made me realize that I needed to change something, and that I needed to discover more about myself.
Yeah. So I wanted to connect this with the past life regression. So the field of, I don't know if we could call it a field of knowledge or field of studies, says that because we are here, we reincarnate here as human to experience different type of experience. And of course, a lot of us chose adversity, you know, like challenging childhood, suppressive, abusive, to certain, you know, emotional, physical to a certain degree. And then because of those adversity, we develop the personality we are, the belief we hold, and then some of them just direct us, well, sort of cause us to develop certain illness or disease because of the belief we hold on. And would you like to maybe give some example that
okay. Let me think 1 second. So first of all, the past life work that I did was like a major influence on this, because it opened something up in me that helped, I don't know, it just helped the wisdom flow in, and I started to be able to see people in a really different way. And that was a bit like opening a door, and it was also like opening a door into myself as well, to really understand how this whole manifested, how this whole, you know, how the idea of illness and everything manifests. And you know, it's true that past lives have an influence on our present life, in the same way as our past in the current life has an influence on our physical being right now. But I talk about healing in this present moment, because you know, for me, we've experienced what we've experienced in order to come, everything brings us to this present moment, and in this present moment we can heal ourselves and our past generations. And so there's a lot in that. I'm just trying to think of an example, because when we come into the world, and this is how I see it, you know, we come in with this enthusiasm and joy for life, and we're open to connect. We're open to connect to everything, and our physical life is so intriguing to us when we're children. And at that point, when we arrive, you know, we're really connected to the inner part of ourselves, you know, the soul of who we are, really. And and as you say, we may have come in with a contract of some sorts in order to experience and learn in this life. And so then as we grow, it's unfortunate, but it happens so much in our culture that we become disconnected from that at some point. And from a very early point, actually, because we're energetic beings, you know, we're in a physical body, we're non-physical in a physical body. We absorb everything from our energetic landscape and our energetic environment. So we absorb our mother's stress, or we absorb our siblings' anger, or we soak it all in. And our physical being is hardwired to attach. You know, our biology says we must stay attached. In order to survive, we need to stay attached to our caregivers when we come into the world. And that's where things start to get difficult, because the biology dictates that we must stay in our family environments no matter what. And so we learn as children how to bend ourselves and push ourselves into places in order to please other people, in order for us to stay safe, in order for us to be accepted, because we're social beings, aren't we? At the end of the day, we like to stay we're designed to live in groups. So at some point we become disconnected from that, you know, that truth of who we are. And then we continue to live in those patterns, and eventually that creates an imbalance within us. And it's an imbalance that we sometimes call our personality. You know, actually, I'm like this, and we think things stay the same, and we think, you know, I'm this sort of a person, or I'm an anxious person anyway. But actually, you didn't come into the world like that, and the inner part of you is always calling you to heal, always calling you to heal. And this creates a bit of a conflict internally, so that you've got your soul, if you like, leading you forward. Here, you're supposed to be doing this in this life, and then you've got your mind, which is still attached to this physical world, and it's stuck within beliefs that we've learned, and it's stuck within paradigms that don't fit for us. And so we feel odd, you know, we feel like even detached from our families. But but we have this biological urge to sort of stay attached. If this, and basically all this creates conflict, and it's the conflict that is the illness, that shows itself in illness. That was quite a long answer to your question. I don't know, did I answer your question?
Yeah, that's very beautiful. Something obviously I can feel the that struggle.
Yes, yeah, it's touching you now. Yeah. And it's a struggle for everyone, you see. That you're feeling now is just part of your inner self just saying yes, that fits. And our struggle is to then unlearn everything we've learned. And that's basically what my course is. It's all about unlearning the things that you've learned.
Yeah.
And learning about who you actually are and what you actually want in the world. And I teach people a way of questioning and of being in the same space. So I teach, a lot of practitioners come on my course because I want the practitioners of the world to be able to hold space for someone in order to be able to unlock all the pain and all the emotion and all the limiting beliefs that are all stuck inside of them. And then you become a new person, and then you heal, because your biology will follow the energy. Everything follows the energy.
Yeah. I actually have a question that I see very often, that because of what happened in the childhood, the person grew up without a sense of self. And how, could you talk a little bit about this, into how do you support people when they become aware they don't have a sense of self, but how do people navigate through this process of reconnecting to, or even the courage to allow themselves to know who they are?
Well, it is a process. I mean, it's and there is no quick fix and there is no protocol. It's a question of helping firstly to help people understand how that disconnection happened for them, and like the truth of what's happening inside of their body. The point I start with is physical illness, because when physical illness comes up, it's a sign that there's an imbalance somewhere, and that sense of self has been lost. And so so that tends to be my starting point. That's the body saying, I've got this pain inside of me, and it's an emotional pain. It's often connected to that childhood experience, or and we're not talking about big experiences, and we're not talking about big traumas, although that's that goes without saying. We're talking about just the way we weren't seen or heard as children, perhaps. And how do I work with that? Well, first of all, it's about giving people the understanding, because we all, as humans, we like to understand so we can control. We like to understand things a lot. So first of all, it's about giving people that understanding. So there's a lot of aha moments on the course, because there's this understanding about how people adapted to their environment, how they learned, say, not to speak up when they clearly wanted to, how they learned to become become the helper, to learn to look out for cues and clues as to how they should react as children, just in case. It's like unpicking all of that. But we start from the present moment. We always have to start from the present moment. And it's also teaching people that the healing is inside of them.
Mm.
You know, that all the answers are within them, and the true healing is inside of them. It's not a physical thing that we have to do, and we're not victims, because often, like with like a disease diagnosis, you know, people will consider it as that they're victims to it. I've got this thing and I can't do anything about it, and so I am stuck and I have to change all my life because I've got this thing, and this thing makes my life difficult. And
Mm.
it's this idea that this thing, this disease, this pain, this discomfort has been projected and come on, you know, been given to somebody randomly. There's been no choice, and I'm now having to carry the burden of this
Right.
issue.
Mhm.
But it's not true, and that's the thing that I'm helping people understand, that everything that's created in the physical has been created from inside of ourselves.
Mm.
The trouble is, and that's not blaming. There's no blame here. It's just about, there are imbalances happening in all of us
Right.
that we're just not aware of, because the programs that we've been running inside our head have become subconscious.
Mm.
The tension that we hold in our body has become subconscious, you know, like, so some people tighten up their stomach, for example, that is it's a reaction that happens beyond our sort of conscious control.
Right.
But it's happened because we would defend ourselves when we were very young. So it's this is why it's so hard to explain, because it's a process of helping people understand that, but it's a process also of helping them become more aware
Mm.
of their body and what their body's doing, and what their
Mm.
what the inner parts of themselves that are usually subconscious are saying to them.
Yeah. I know you have been for probably 1-2 years that you've been sharing sort of the explanation of a certain physical pain or illness on your Instagram. Like there are many posts and many case studies, and you know, the emotional connection, the need of the emotions. So maybe if there's any case that comes to your mind that we could just have a go through, so for people who have not had a chance to get to know your work, and
Sure.
maybe you could just open them up to see, okay, there is so many connections. It's not just because we have inherited the bad genes and because it runs in the family, or because I'm a bad person because I'm not eating clean, or because people also very blaming, like blame themselves, like
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, there's one thing that pops into my mind, and that was a lady who came in that had like this incredible head pressure, like migraines, headaches all the time.
yeah.
She came for acupuncture,
Mm.
and she was just at the end of her tether. She had 4 children. She was in a very difficult relationship, and she had this this constant sort of head and neck pain, and wanted some help with it. And people might relate to this who have headaches. It's a pressure. It's literally like an internal pressure.
Mm.
And so I was talking to her, and she was in she was really struggling with her life at that point. So firstly, just having a conversation with somebody who listened to her was amazingly healing.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to me that through our conversations, like, no tears came up at all. And that was really interesting. And the other thing to mention was that I asked her, when did her headache start, and she said, when I was 6. Now,
Wow.
what 6-year-old starts with headaches, on regular daily headaches. So automatically there I'm going, there's trauma here, there's really big trauma, there's something happened. And I will then ask anybody, well, what happened around that time? What happened around that time that issue started? So for her, it was her dad leaving. And she was telling me that she would sit on the step when she came home from school. She wouldn't go in the house, and she would just sit there for like a couple of hours or longer. I'm not sure, but she just sat there waiting for him. And it was just, it was just so, it was so incredibly sad, because she didn't understand what that was all about as a 6-year-old. Now, I don't know at what point somebody went into and intercepted that and said, you can't do this anymore. But whatever happened then led to this this belief that she couldn't cry, because she didn't shed any tears when we were talking, as I said. And then I questioned her on it. And when I questioned her on it, she said, yeah, she said, I can't cry. She said, I can't cry at all. And she said, I don't know why, I just can't cry. And then it was just like connecting the dots, really, because it was, although she had no memory, at some point she learnt to hold her tears in. She couldn't cry anymore for her dad. And so when those turning points happen in childhood, well, no matter what age, if you can remember them, it's sometimes helpful in the healing process, but often we can't, because there are these points where we make a decision. I am not going to be like that anymore.
Yeah.
And those are called choice points. And when you make a choice point, the way I see it is, it's like you fracture. Like there's a part of you that just sort of fractures off, and one part of you is exiled. It's hidden. It's buried. The part of her that cried was buried at that point. She doesn't have a memory of why or when, of course not. But her body knows, and her body learned it's not safe to cry. And so sort of back to the present moment, and she was unable to shed a tear. And actually she said to me at the end of like our first session, she said, oh, I feel like I've cried the whole session. And I went, that's interesting, because I've barely seen 2 tears come out. But it became really clear to me that all that suppressed grief, all that suppressed hurt was being held in her head and creating that pressure.
Yeah.
And she just learned that what she had to do, she had to deal with everything. She had to be the carer, the provider, she had to do all of it. And actually she just got to sort of exploding point at that point. So and when she started to understand that, which probably took, that was probably 2 or 3 sessions before she was really starting to get to understand that. Then her whole life changed. As in, she started to put down boundaries, like in her relationship. She started to ask for help. Her pressure went away. And then when she had a hospital appointment, they said, oh, there's nothing wrong. Maybe you're just having headaches. But it's like, but it just dispersed, because she became this different person. She didn't, she was releasing that part of herself, or integrating that part of herself.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that gives you a sort of picture of that sort of work. I mean, it's a beautiful thing, but I've got a podcast which sort of really, I started because I wanted to illustrate how people hold these traumas, and I call it trauma, it's sort of relational trauma, it's the trauma of disconnection, the trauma of disconnecting from your heart, and how we hold those, and we hold those with those beliefs, we hold them in our body, and then they dictate our behavior. That those parts of us that have those strong beliefs and hold us stuck in our lives, because often we feel just a sense of stuckness if we haven't got a physical thing, but those things that keep us stuck are only were there at one time to help us and protect us.
Yes.
So like for some reason, for that particular lady, her not crying meant that she was then, it wasn't so difficult maybe for her mum then, it wasn't so traumatic for her mum. So she's looking after her mum, she's holding herself in, she's not accepted, the part of her that cries isn't accepted. So it's been protecting her and carrying on with the same behavior all her life. But this is what happens, like for example, like sometimes, you go to do something really simple, I don't know, maybe you go to do your accounts and your taxes, and there's another part of you that takes hold and panics, because and panics and takes over, because it's like your 5-year-old self is trying to do the taxes. So it's like you're it's like her 6-year-old self was trying to keep everything together. And so it's a bit like saying to that part of yourself, you don't have to do that anymore, and we're integrating it with the adult self.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've gone off a bit there. But...
No, that's beautiful. I think I shed the tears for myself and for many that have been going through very similar experience, and especially those sensitive empaths that become the caretaker of the families. And I know so many people actually have become this, like and I do see that what wants to be the protection mechanism really, I think it helped many of us going through a life of self-reliance, of a responsible life. But it comes a point that we all are at this juncture of that returning to the truth of who we are, because it no longer, like what used to work no longer works because of the frequency, because the invitation, the collective rise of the consciousness. So I feel that is why amazing healers, amazing healing modalities are coming up so much, like everywhere. It's really serve as an invitation for us to let that go, or let the mechanism go, let the limiting belief go, but also to claim that lost part or fragmented part of ourselves back into the truth of who we are. It's like this big central, our soul self. So
and I've just got something to say about the empath thing, if that's all right, because that's you've hit the nail on the head there, because empathy is a skill that we all possess, but some of us have developed that to a really a higher degree, because it helps keep us safe, anticipating how other people felt, and making sure that we knew what was happening, and then we could do whatever we needed to do to make ourselves safe. Empathy is a skill we just develop as children, really. Some people develop in a really high way, and there's an issue with empathy, because we're not always ourselves, as in we're absorbing other people's energy, because we have learned to do that. And there's something about becoming what's the word, like more complete in your own energy, and understanding what's yours and what's not yours is actually helps you become an even better healer than one who is just feeling everybody else's pain, because that is a big burden to bear.
Yeah, I remember when I first started being the regressionist, I was just giving so much, and I'll be crying in the session before the client started to cry. So that was not, that was more like from like a wounded place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Go
Yeah.
on. Well, I was just going to say, I just think this is the way forward for healing,
Yeah.
really. In
Yes.
general, I think we, I think all of us need to get more in touch with our bodies, because our spirit, our soul is within us, and it's not something outside of us, it's inside of us. And so it's connecting with ourselves, and as we do that, then that just increases your vibration, and you start to get rid of the density of anger, and the density of fear, and the density of shame that we hold, and it's heavy and affects ourselves.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I'm just curious, would you just have, I know it's a process, but like for people who are so empathic and then just taking on everybody's energy and then exhausted, what would you guide them to, take obviously there are different limiting like belief that are not serving the person. That's why
Yeah.
they feel they have to do that. But just on a very general basis, if they are watching the interview, they would say, oh, what can I do to start this process of coming back to myself?
Well, yeah, I think, like you say, it is a learning process. So I always describe empathy as getting in the hole with somebody, and compassion as reaching the hand in to help them.
Yeah.
So it's moving more towards compassion rather than empathy. And the problem with empathy is that there's no boundary between you and that other person. So this is a bit of a process of asking yourself, is this mine or is it yours? And if it's another person's, it's saying, well, why, instead of going, I don't want to carry that, or just sort of cutting it, cutting it off, it's more the question to ponder on and to just reflect on is, why do I feel that I need to carry that for them? Do I believe that I'm the only one that can help them or fix them? Because everybody's on their own journey, and everybody has this amazing gift to heal inside of them. And so when you can sit with somebody and you can see their healed self, and you visualize them as healed, not as broken, not as in this difficult place. The difficult place they're having is all to do with their mind, but their spirit and their soul is beautiful and it's whole. And so it's holding that image of them not being broken, but of being whole, like a whole person going through a difficult time. But so separating this idea that you can help them only if you meld with their energy, if that makes sense, because you can certainly give to them, but it's also your job to receive. It's also your job to receive a boundary, even, and so it's more of it's like a mental process, I would say, in terms of, do I need to hold this, and am I still holding it, and if so, why am I holding it, and can I see them, that for their beauty and for their own journey, and actually withdraw, knowing that they, whatever they're going through, it's leading them towards something that we might know nothing about. We may, we often don't know what anyone else's path is, or our own for that matter. It's just being in that present moment and just allowing them to be whatever they are. I don't know if that helps at all.
Yeah, no, that's a very beautiful state, like to be in that state of what I would say it's the acceptance to start with, like accept where they are, accept where we are, you know, because I think very often we also have that, we also get to extend that compassion for ourselves. Like when we are so trying so hard to help others or support others or feel responsible for others, we also get to yeah, like also I think when you were saying it's like there's the person is not broken, there's nothing that needs to be fixed, they are just choosing experience this let's say, you know, contrast of the human experience or the polarity of the situation in order for them to gain certain experience and wisdom.
You said it beautifully. Yeah. I can give myself as an example because, you know, I went into the healing industry and, you know, Western medicine and then acupuncture, and I would pore over my books and I'd think about like a patient that had come in and I'd be looking for the answer. And as I look back at that now, I realized that I didn't need to spend so much of my energy in trying to fix them because they weren't actually broken ever. Nobody was broken. And I'd sort of taken it upon myself to be the fixer, the healer. And that's the path of the wounded healer, really, isn't it? Because actually what I needed to do was fix myself, and everything is a mirror to us. So, and I really just needed to I needed to look inwards, and I needed to look at what was not whole inside of me, and that was the journey, really. So
that is such a beautiful understanding. Yeah, like because I know so many of us really wanted to heal others, but actually what gets to be healed first and brought into the wholeness, or to recognize the wholeness of who we are inside, is the healer herself, himself, the coach, the therapist, the, you know, all this, the facilitators. So I love what a beautiful state you have realized and embodying this realization.
Yeah, it's exactly. So and you said it there, and that's my whole journey. That's why I say it's an undoing, really. Like the whole course is an undoing of those sort of beliefs that you hold inside of yourself. And it's even though it's a practitioner course, I have a lot of people come on the course just for their personal journey, because it's about that understanding you can only heal somebody to the extent that you are healed. You know, you can't perform miracles if you are not whole yourself. So
Really, yeah, when you were talking about this, I think what comes to me is that because I spent some time in the Amazon jungle with the shaman, well, the healer, the medicine man family. So they have this tradition. And what they do actually is that in order to be eligible to facilitate people's journey, they have to go on this journey of healing themselves, you know, doing the diet, taking them, working with medicine to really release their shadows or things that are so, and it's not just one time. It's not like, okay, when you become the medicine man, you no longer need to do that, but it's actually an ongoing process. And I think that applies to, you know, that is the same for all of us. It's an ongoing journey of healing ourselves.
it's so true, because actually what happens is that as you become more healed, you don't feel the desire to heal others. You might feel the desire to pass your wisdom on, or to hold space for others, but the desire to actually heal them, or, you know, goes away, because then it's like I say, it's almost like a sort of backwards journey almost.
Actually, what I feel propelled to say is that when you say, you just feel like you want to pass on the wisdom, just hold the space. But I come to realize that space when you are being that healed person, whole, loving and compassionate, that space in itself is healing. Like whoever entered this space, of course, talking, of course, different energy healing, but most important all is that frequency you are holding for the other person to come, well, I don't know, come up to, or to elevate them into that healed state.
Yeah, that's beautiful, because yeah, that's exactly it really, because in holding the space, sometimes you just don't even have to do anything very much. Just
Mm,
be there, witnessing somebody else's emotions come up,
yeah.
being okay with that, being okay with not needing to say anything, not
Mm,
needing to fix them. Just holding space is the most healing thing you can actually do, but it takes a while to, you have to be able to get there for yourself first. That's the thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's what all the best healers do. And when
Mm,
you think about it, really, that's what happens as a child. You see, we come into the world expressing ourselves, we come in crying or shouting, and as we're when we're babies, often that space is okay for us to cry, but as we get older, that permission to express ourselves becomes withdrawn
mm, mm,
in
yeah.
whatever way we express ourselves. So it's about it's about allowing that. Yeah.
Allowing, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, I always enjoy talking to you. So I know that you already have a few um how do I say, programs that have, guiding people through this root cause, like working with emotional connection, energetic connection, and for them to become a better healer, or even just to heal themselves. And is there anything you would like to share, like for people who are just new to this field?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's it's all about being open.
Mm,
This is a hard belief to shift in the collective, that
mm,
that our pain
mm,
or our illness is not random,
mm,
and it comes to us for a reason. So it's a hard thing to shift, because it's been so ingrained into our culture for not for that long, actually, when you think about it, maybe 300 years, because before that there was a lot more in ancient medicines, there was a lot more understanding of the self, and the whole and the community and all that sort of thing. So it's more about, for people, being open to, I wonder what this means, I
mm.
wonder what this is trying to teach me,
Yeah, yeah.
and having then the patience to sort of maybe research and
Mm,
look for, why would I be getting this, why would this be coming up? And
mm,
it's never physical, the answer is never physical.
mm.
And
Yeah,
that's the thing. And so it's just about getting the message out there. And so I hope people just will just be able to soften
mm,
their fixed ideas, or soften the rigidity that they might feel, or the resistance they might feel to the idea
yeah.
that actually what's happened isn't random, and it has got a connection to something deeper.
Yeah, that's beautifully said. So, yeah, I definitely would invite people who are curious and interested, and maybe something has shifted even during the conversation. And I will invite them to connect with you, right?
Yeah.
We are going to send the link where they can get hold of you. And if I know that if they have questions, they could get in contact with you just to.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone can always email me. I'm always happy to answer questions. It's what I do best. And there is a new cohort. I have only got one program running actually at the moment, but I will have more. But that one starts next week, so
Okay.
and that's the 12th of September. So anyone might need to give me a shout a bit quick if they're interested.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have the link. And so where are you also, are you active right now on Instagram or any other media, or are you dedicated to teaching for now?
Well, Instagram is my sort of main go-to social media. I actually, so that's the healing point at on Instagram. I would suggest people join my email list, and then they'll get like weekly emails. Oh, and my podcast, the Healing Point podcast, is worth checking out if you want to know a bit more about how this whole thing works, because the podcast is just conversations with real people who volunteer to talk to me about what's going on for them, and it's about connecting the physical issue to what's behind it. So we have some really beautiful conversations on the podcast. Yeah, and my website is traceystevens.org. And you'll find a bit more information. I'm not very good at the tech stuff. I'm getting better.
It's a process.
Certainly it is a process. But yeah, you'll find contact details and more information there. So thank you.
Yeah, we'll also list that in the description. So thank you so much for this beautiful conversation, Tracey. It's yeah, it's lovely to really have this opportunity to discuss, you know, to open more into the physical illness, this chronic disease, that, you know, like there's more to what the eyes can see, right? There's more. So thank you for this beautiful work.
You're so welcome, and it's just been an honor to talk to you. So thank you.
Thank you. So thank you for watching, and we hope you enjoy the conversation. Definitely hope the conversation has opened things up for you, and, you know, bring a new lens into the healing and the physical illness. And feel free to reach out to Tracey if you feel drawn. She is an amazing healer, amazing teacher. So I'm so glad to have you here. So take care, everybody. We'll see you next time. And until then, just enjoy your life being human. Bye for now.